let's start off by talking about the FDI situation right now in Kenya and why we haven't seen a significant increase in FDI to the extent that we've seen in Uganda, where you see non-oil FDI increasing by 80% in 2010 alone.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're very happy to be here to give you information on the level of investments that we have received as Kenya Investment Authority. What we have seen is, as you rightly mentioned, is an increase in the investments by our domestic investors, more than the foreign direct investors. And as you ask, between Tanzania and Kenya, why hasn't Kenya seen the higher level of FDI? There are several reasons for this. And we are working on seeing an improvement in seeing more foreign investors. One is that when people come, what they would like to see is a smooth arena for promoting investments. Most, as you know, developing countries have had a number of procedures, bureaucracy, and several other issues like governance, state of infrastructure. However, there is a growing trend in improvement of these sectors that will see more FDI come in. As you know, Tanzania's FDI is mostly from one sector, and that's mining, while Uganda, the second largest investor, is the Kenyan investor, both actually into Tanzania and into Uganda. And so I wouldn't worry so much, but that we need to maybe attract much more than we have been in the past.
Looking at, looking between the foreign direct investment that we have seen in Kenya and the Kenyan investment into Kenya, it's quite interesting to note that Kenyans have been investing in construction, which of course took the lion's share of the investments. Around 79% of the new investments made by citizens last year went into the sector. Energy sector also being a favorite, and also the manufacturing sector. In comparison, it seems that foreigners are mostly interested in the mining sector. Tourism also fell into that line, as well as the telecom sector. Why do you think there's such a big divergence between what we see coming through from foreigners and from locals?
What you see as a divergent is an increase. If you look at the trend of the economic growth rate of Kenya since 2003, there's been an increase trend from maybe 0.02 to about 7.1 in 2007 December, and then that dipped, but we are back up again. But in tandem with that, we have had a number of policies that have improved in access, especially to finance, both by the youth and women, and also the banking sector has been resilient. So a lot of local investors or domestic investors have had access to financing. And not to forget our diaspora. Our diaspora remit about close to $2 billion a year into Kenya, and most of that has also gone into the construction sector. If I may use an example, there's a certain part of the country over Christmas that did not have building materials, and that shows how much interest is going into the construction or into the real estate sector. Yeah,
Suzan, I'd also like to touch on the fact that agriculture, which we know is very pertinent to Kenya's economy, didn't receive that much investment, not only from foreigners, but from locals as well. Do you think that that trend is set to continue? Of course, risks that come to the fore with weather being one of those things that push investors away.
Yes, that is very true, that the trend has been that not too much has been pumped in by local investors into agriculture. Neither has it come from foreigners. Yes, we do see here and there value addition from the foreign investors into the agricultural sector, but truly it is because we have been dependent on rain-fed agriculture more than irrigation. But our relevant authorities are keen to see that we go into irrigation of our fields and that we don't depend mainly on rain-fed agriculture. So hopefully we should be seeing maybe a reverse trend over time, and that our farmers will be turning into business people as outlined in Vision 2030, where we want farmers to do growing as well as value addition throughout. And of course, this will be helped by the resultant emphasis on infrastructure, particularly feeder roads and the other roads that lead into transportation of the goods, provision of electricity, of course, water and irrigation, and also in terms of communication.
Suzan, if we could touch on the themes for 2011 and where you think we'll be seeing the most investment, and if you do think we'll see an uptick in FDI in 2011.
Yes, definitely. One of the greatest achievements we've had is the signing in of a new constitution, and we are actually inundated with a lot of inquiries. As you know, sub-Saharan Africa is growing at an average of about 5 to 6%. Kenya is not an exception to that, and we are getting a lot of inquiries, and you know, it takes a bit of time for an investor to conceptualize and to implement. Yeah. And so whoever has been interested in Kenya before the constitution and after, we should see maybe some of the projects already coming in this year, and we expect an upward trend.